back by popular demand, the top 10 worst names, this time for far-right extremists. Hi, this is Phil Gurski, President and CEO of Borealis Threat and Risk Consulting in Russell, Canada, and you're listening to Quick Hits. Number 10, Stormfront. Now, this is a neo-Nazi group, but in all honesty, Stormfront sounds more like a weather system to me, not a group for a bunch of white supremacists. So they get number 10. Number 9, the Remnant. Now, the Remnant is a very conservative Catholic movement, predominant in the United States. When I came across this name, my first question is, remnant of what? Like, to me, remnants is a synonym for leftovers, like a casserole in the back of the fridge. Are you okay with calling yourself the leftovers? The bottom of the bag? The dregs? I don't know, guys. For a group that is into Holocaust denial and blames the Jews for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, you might want to go back to the drawing board. So you're in at number 9. Number 8, La Meute. Now, this is a Quebec-based right-wing extremist group, and La Meute is French for the wolf pack. Now, normally, wolves are seen as these very honorable, very proud creatures. Obviously, they live in the wilderness, and I'm not sure if La Meute was going after this lone wolf terrorism theme. Although, if you're a lone wolf, you're not part of a pack then, are you? The other fascinating thing about La Meute is that whenever it gathers for a demonstration somewhere in the province of Quebec, there's generally tens or hundreds of people more counter-protesters than there are La Meute protesters. Remember once there was a demonstration that they tried to carry off, and they had to find refuge in a parking garage because they were going to get the beat out of them by the counter-protesters. So La Meute isn't much of a wolf pack to me. They're in at number 8. Number 7 is a group called the 3%ers. Now, this name derives from this notion they have that only 3% of Americans fought against the British during the Revolutionary War of 1776. Not sure where they got that figure from. I don't think it's historically accurate. They do see themselves as the vanguard of the new revolution. However, it is also said, mythically, that humans only use 5% of their brains. So the 3%ers are 2% shy of 5% of the brain. Not the brightest guys on the planet. Number 6 is a group called the Oath Keepers. Now, they're an interesting bunch in the States. They claim to have tens of thousands of present and former law enforcement officers and people who served in the U.S. military, and it in fact is one of the largest radical anti-government groups in the United States today. They show up at demonstrations, usually in camo gear, carrying some pretty scary weapons. But when I think Oath Keepers, my mind goes to one of those kind of Christian fundamentalist virginity clubs you probably heard of, that girls that promise they promise to keep their virginity until marriage. So in other words, they're performing an oath. They're keeping their oath. I wonder how many of the Oath Keepers are virgins. It's a good question. They're at number 6. Number 5, the Order of the 9 Angles. That's right, 9 angles, like mathematics. When I first heard this term, all I could think of was the high school geek math club when I was in secondary school in the 1970s. Yeah, whatever. What are the 9 angles? Why are there 9 of them? Like, are there right angles and, geez, can I remember my math here? Acute angles and obtuse angles? Were there 3 types of angles? God, I'm going back to the 1970s here. Did they mean 9 angels? Because they are basically Nazi Satanists, which is a really bizarre combination when you think of it. So if they meant the Order of the 9 Angels, that would make sense, because Satan, of course, was a fallen angel. And since they're worshiping him, they should be called the 9 Angels. I think this group has a typo in its name. Number 4, the Proud Boys. Now, we've heard an awful lot about the Proud Boys in recent history. They, of course, were some of those who took part in the raid on Capitol Hill on January the 6th. The Canadian government, actually the Canadian Parliament, voted unanimously to list the Proud Boys, their Canadian chapter, as a terrorist group after that attack. And you've heard me talk an awful lot about terrorist listings and why that's not a great idea. But when I think of Proud Boys, my thoughts go to the great gay pride events that we've seen in recent history. You remember those demonstrations where people were battling for LGBTQ rights? So I'm not not sure the Proud Boys are pro-LGBTQ, or maybe I'm missing something here. Furthermore, can you take anyone seriously that calls themselves boys? Why aren't they the Proud Men? Why aren't they the Proud 30-year-olds? Why aren't they the Proud... No, they're the Proud Boys. No, I'm sorry guys, I can't take you seriously when you're a bunch of boys. Number 3, the Hammerskins. This is just stupid. Really, really stupid. These guys are a hardcore racist skinhead bunch in the United States, and they've got an interesting symbol that they took from Pink Floyd's The Wall. And the symbol is 2 crossed hammers, usually superimposed over a cogwheel. When I looked at the symbol, 2 things came to mind. The Freemasons, with their protractor and their hammer, or something you see from a local union movement. You know, the, Amalgamated Federation of Typesetters or whatever kind of thing. So I think the Hammerskins is just a really, really dumb name. So they come in at number 3. Number 2, the Boogaloo Boys. So, first of all, they've got the word boys in their title. I just talked about how the Proud Boys don't put a lot of fear into the hearts of men when they call themselves boys. And secondly, Boogaloo. What the hell is a boogaloo? Now, there's a history behind this, but when I hear boogaloo, rather than trembling in my shoes about these white supremacist wankers, I want to dance. And I can't dance. I'm the world's worst dancer. So when I hear the Boogaloo Boys, and even I want to dance, you know they picked the wrong name. By far, the worst terrorist group name for a right-wing group belongs to the Soldiers of Odin. Yeah, like the Norse god. They were created in Finland back in 2015. They are an anti-immigrant group, and they were angry about the increase in migrants arriving in Finland and Scandinavia, just sort of in the aftermath, or during the Islamic State crisis in Iraq and Syria. So they can't stand immigrants. They also have a Canadian chapter. In fact, they have several Canadian chapters. I think they're not actually a right-wing terrorist group. I think that they're fooling all of us. What I think is that the Soldiers of Odin are just really, really pissed off because they wanted to get bit parts in Thor Ragnarok. They are Norse god worshippers. I think they're just Marvel wannabes. I can't take a group that names itself after a Norse god very, very seriously at all. So that's my top 10 ridiculous names for right-wing terrorist groups. If you like the content and want to get more, go to my website, borealisthreatenlist.com. Hit the subscribe button. You get a free daily digest, all the podcasts, all the blogs on a daily basis. Love to hear your feedback. I'll talk to you again soon. Until then, stay safe. You know, picking a name for yourself is really, really important. Now, when I retired from the Canadian Security Intelligence Service in 2015 and decided to incorporate, I did some research about, what to call myself. You've got to pick a name for your company after all. And I thought that I wanted to say something that, not only indicated what I was trying to do, i.e. provide advice and knowledge on terrorism, but also wanted to reflect the fact that I was a Canadian. I settled on the word Borealis. And of course, Borealis is part of the Aurora Borealis, which are the northern lights, a very, very Canadian phenomenon. And I felt it reflected the fact that I'm a very proud Canadian. When I ended up contracting out for the logo of my company, which you can see on my webpage, I thought it was kind of cool with all the colors. So I put a lot of thought into the name I wanted. I had a short list of names and settled on Borealis, and I'm pretty happy with that. It looks like, though, a couple of far-right extremist groups might want to rethink their branding. Maybe hire someone to do some research for them, because these are really, really lousy names for the top 10 worst names for right-wing extremist groups. Of course, I'm doing this to poke fun of these people. I'm not doing it to acknowledge their status or give them any praise. I'm also not dismissing the fact this can be a potentially a violent bunch of people. I'm just trying to illustrate how silly these names are. And I think that when you poke fun at people, when you mock them, you take them down a peg. And that's why I'm doing this podcast today.